whenever I read that gospel, I always think of Linus. And I'm afraid I'm going to start to talk to him, and then instead of saying the gospel of the Lord, I would have to say, that's what Christmas is all about. That's one of my enduring images of Christmas. It didn't matter that I wasn't a churchgoer, our family wasn't a churchgoer. I knew what Christmas was about because of Charles Schulz. I've had two other images in my head as I've been thinking, praying about Christmas this year. And they both involve that manger in Bethlehem. That manger that is there. We're going to go out and bless the nativity scene after Mass that's out in front of the church. The first is a story that Archbishop Timothy Dolan told us at the seminary when he visited there. He was Archbishop of Milwaukee then, out of New York. But he talked about a discussion he had with his spiritual director about the incarnation. And I don't know if you've ever seen Archbishop Dolan talk. He's a typical Irishman. He's got the gift of gab. I don't know how many times he kissed the Blarney Stone, but he was telling us, I was having trouble feeling with my heart rather than thinking with my head. And his spiritual director said to him, well, try something. I want you to pray about the scene in the manger. I want you to place yourself right in that scene, right with the shepherds, with the animals, with Mary and Joseph, and see what happens in that prayer as you put yourself there. So that they met again, and his director asked him, what happened? How did it go? What did you experience? And Archbishop Dolan tried to avoid the issue. He said, I was giving cigars to the shepherds, and I was clapping Joseph on the back and congratulating Mary. The spiritual director just shook his head and said, Timothy, tell me what happened. Tell me what you experienced. And so he finally had to quiet himself and describe his prayer. He had put himself in the scene. There in the manger with Mary and Joseph, all the animals, the shepherds, the magi, and of course the baby Jesus. And he said it was then, I was kind of in the background, but then the most amazing thing happened. All of a sudden I was up front, and Mary asked him if I'd like to hold the baby. And even as he told this story in a refectory full of seminarians, years later, his voice filled with the emotion that he felt at that moment as he described how it had felt. How he knew I was holding God in my arms. Just a tiny newborn child. The other image is kind of related that I've been thinking about. How many know the Christmas song, Mary, Did You Know? I love that song. And one particular verse always reminds me of Archbishop Dolan's story and reminds me of what we're here to celebrate. Mary, did you know that when you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God? That's the amazing, seemingly incomprehensible truth that we come to celebrate tonight. God became man. He came as a small child, just a little baby, just like these were little babies, these children that helped us out at the beginning. He did that so that he might experience everything that we experience, save for sin. That's how he chose to seek our love. He already loved us. He wanted to seek our love by coming to us as a helpless little child. Think for a minute the emotions that children bring out in us when we see a little baby. Whether we want to hold it or whether we're a little worried about holding it, or what. We coo, we talk baby talk, we chuck them under the chin. We have this deep need to protect and care for our children. Babies call us out of ourselves. Ask any new parent. My life is never the same as what you will be. Everything that was important isn't important anymore because of that child. They call us to set aside our own cares, our own worries, and give our love to them. And when you think about it in that way, I guess it really isn't any wonder that God chose to come to us as a little child. with the birth of Christ, with that wonderful event that we celebrate, that we relive tonight, God is no longer distant and removed from us in some faraway heaven. He's now forever near to us. He's truly with us. He's our Emmanuel. He's with us in our happy and joyous times as we come together, all dressed in red and green and white. But he's also with us in our weakness and in our sorrow and in our grief, in our challenges, in our victories, and in our defeats. And we're called each day to participate in that mystery. The wonderful thing is that this child who was born among us 2,000 years ago can be born again and again and again in the hearts of all of us who believe. He continues to draw close to us. He continues to be among us. So let us come together at this Eucharist, this Christmas. And may our prayer be that we always be aware that God's love awaits us always in our hearts. He awaits us always, just like a little baby waiting to be held and to be loved.